Hey guys, welcome to MMA-hem. I'm the real El Nino, and UFC 205 is upon us. It's tomorrow night, and I'm really excited for this show. Of course, headlining is Conor McGregor versus Eddie Alvarez, but this card is much more than that. A lot of these guys are headliners on their own and could be the main event. I'm not going to cover every single matchup here, just the ones I really care about, which is Conor McGregor versus Eddie Alvarez. And before I get going, yes, I am a Conor McGregor fan, and I'm not ashamed of it. I know it's kind of cool to hate on Conor McGregor these days, but I think he's a great fighter, an absolute warrior, and I also realize that there's a very real possibility that he gets his head handed to him tomorrow night by Eddie Alvarez. You can't take him lightly. First off, let's talk about the other matchups for tomorrow night. Nurmagomedov versus Michael Johnson. That's really an interesting match if you ask me. Nurmagomedov has been the elite's champion for the past couple of years. Of course, he's been sidelined by injury. And tomorrow night he gets a chance to prove himself against Michael Johnson, who just had a very impressive victory over Dustin Poirier. Is that how you pronounce it? And Michael Johnson's trying to make some noise, and Nurmagomedov, I think, is a big opportunity for Johnson. Johnson, of course, also known for getting smacked around by Nate Diaz not too long ago. And Nurmagomedov, probably the best wrestler in the lightweight division, or whatever you call it, sambo, whatever his style is. The guy's just awesome. I mean, if he could do that to RDA, just pin him down and not allow him to do anything, I mean, that's got to be something. He's undefeated, not just in the UFC, but in previous organizations he was with. And the guy's an all-around fighter. He's not much of a striker, but he moves around well. He has a very awkward striking style, and I think it's going to pose a lot of problems for Michael Johnson, whose style is a little more traditional boxing. And I think he's going to be in for a very rough night. Michael Johnson, could be wrong, but Nurmagomedov's got this one, in my opinion. The other matchup I'm curious about is Chris Weidman. Is it Weidman or Weidman? Weidman? Yeah, Chris Weidman versus Yoel Romero. Both guys, it's sort of like a comeback fight for both guys. Yoel Romero off of his layoff from being suspended for a tainted substance. And you have Chris Weidman, who's trying to come back from his stunning TKO loss against Luke Rockhold. And we'll see how Chris Weidman performs when his aura of invincibility gone. And Romero, he's the underdog in this fight, and he's no slouch. If Romero were to beat up Chris Weidman, I would not at all consider that to be an upset. There's a lot of questions surrounding Chris Weidman. How will he deal with his first loss psychologically, and also physically? The injuries that he's had that's resulted in many postponements, not just in this fight, but other fights in the past. We'll see if that's caught up with him. So my pick for this fight, I think Chris Weidman is a safe bet just because he's so big, and we tend to forget what he's done prior to his fight with Luke Rockhold. I mean, he was a dominant force, but Yoel Romero, he's a sneaky, crafty kind of fighter. But at the same time, I'm going to have to lean with Chris Weidman on this one, just a little bit. Now we're getting to the matches that I'm really excited for, which is, first off, Stephen Thompson versus Tyron Woodley. Now, I'm not really a big fan of Woodley, and that's putting it mildly. He was inactive for a long time, and all he did was whine. And that's basically how he got a title shot, against Robbie Lawler. He whined himself to a title shot. And as soon as he won that title, he started calling out guys that are retired. GSP, Nick Diaz, I mean, he's just looking for big payday. And, you know, the guy talks like he has earned the right to pick his opponents. You know, far from it, not even. Here we have Stephen Thompson is beating everyone. He's on a nice streak, beating Rory McDonald and, yeah, Rory McDonald. Oh, that guy with the beard, Hendricks, former champion. He thoroughly dominated that guy. And I'm really, really rooting for Thompson, and I really hope he boxes or kickboxes, karates around Tyron Woodley, because Woodley, he just gets me so mad sometimes. The guy's annoying, and you know, Tyron Woodley is a very strong wrestler. He does have one-punch KO power, so I'm not ruling out a knockout victory for Thompson. And of course, he can just wrestle the heck out of Thompson. Woodley can, I mean. Woodley's a strong wrestler, and he's buff, and he looks like he has kind of a mean streak about him. Maybe he's a little motivated by people writing him off for this fight, so it could turn out to be a very, very interesting fight. Which takes us to the main event, Conor McGregor versus Eddie Alvarez. You know, the time for talk is just about done, and I think that Eddie Alvarez just gets hit way too much. Now, of course, lightweight is a weight class above Conor's division, which is featherweight, but I think everybody understands that Conor really is a natural lightweight. I don't think he's going to be as powerful against bigger guys on the lightweight. But when he fought Nate Diaz, who was nearly 200 pounds the last time they fought, I mean, Diaz still felt those punches. And his face got pretty busted up. I think against a smaller guy like Eddie Alvarez, I think we're going to see that power again from Conor McGregor. And, you know, Eddie Alvarez, he's a warrior. I think he's going to try to slug it out at least at certain times against McGregor. And you know what? I think Eddie Alvarez actually might have a good shot of catching Conor McGregor. He criticizes McGregor's head movement or lack thereof, and I think there is some truth to that. But McGregor's defense is not really based off of his head movement, but is more based on his positioning, his distance management, footwork. That's really his defense. And of course, McGregor is extremely accurate. He's an awesome counter puncher. Just about everybody agrees that Nate Diaz is probably one of the better boxers in the UFC. Probably the most effective guy with the use of his hands and how he controls and dominates and overwhelms his opponents with his, his modified boxing style. But against McGregor, McGregor was able to counter Diaz effectively. He was able to get angles in and sneak in these sharp left hands and right hooks to the body, and he wasn't getting outboxed by Diaz at all. And I think that's a big deal. So when it comes to pure stand-up, McGregor's definitely got the edge on this one. And if Alvarez is smart, if he doesn't knock McGregor out early at some point, Eddie Alvarez better decide to try to take this fight to the ground, because the longer this fight stays standing up, the more likely McGregor is going to catch him with a big punch. So I'm rooting for McGregor. I think he knocks out Eddie Alvarez in the first round, but anything can happen. We haven't really seen McGregor against anyone who's the same size as he is. I mean, the featherweight guys are a lot smaller than him. Diaz is obviously bigger than McGregor, but Diaz is not really the kind of guy who sits down on his punches to try to knock you out. But Eddie Alvarez is, so it'd be really interesting to see what happens if Alvarez were to clip Conor McGregor and see how he reacts, see how good his chin is. So, really excited. What about you guys? Who do you think's going to win? Please make sure to post your comments. And if you enjoyed this video, please click on that like button and subscribe. Once again, you're watching MMA-hem, and I'm the real El Nino. Until next time.